right, folks. Let me just go ahead and notify the universe that we're on. Welcome to 2026, everybody. Today, we are coming out of the Ghastly Hallows, and this is our first episode of 2026. The subject matter today broke the robot's brain, so we are down a co-host today. But I'm still accompanied today with...
Red, 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 red.
My eyes went like that, 'cause that's how it felt when I was looking into today's subject. Because, boy, I don't even know how to get started on this one. Oh boy. So,
It bent your mind.
you know who I felt like reading this shit, looking into this shit? I felt like Dale Gribble for a couple of hours. That's what I felt like.
I found a couple of Dale Gribbles on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no, there was a fuck ton of
But
Dale Gribbles after that.
The thing is, like, when you see it's on YouTube, it's actually not a good representation of Dale Gribble because all the guys that do the conspiracy stuff on YouTube are like really handsome, and that's why they have a successful YouTube channel. So it's just like you're like speaking the sentences that he would say, but you just don't vibe Dale.
You don't have the Dale Gribbleisms.
No.
The Gribbleisms are a very big fucking thing.
Gribbleisms.
You know what I mean? Like, he has this way of, like, saying shit that makes him sound unhinged, but if you're stupid, you'll fall for it. Sadly enough, a lot of stupid people do believe in that nowadays.
He's not like foaming at the mouth crazy. He seems just sane enough.
Yeah, he's coherently sane. He's coherently insane. Like, that's like the best way I could put it. Like, if I were like when I was a kid, right, I used to fucking find Dale Gribble to be the funniest guy in that entire show. In my book, he still is. And when I was a kid, I used to do like the Dale Gribble impression all the time to people, like, "You'd wish you'd never had. All the pigs will leave Ireland, and then there'll be nothing but old people eating gerbster, and those who left, they'll wish they had." I'm probably gonna leave too.
He is Clara's favorite character.
He's
for the record,
he's the funniest fucking character out there.
Yeah.
So, as I'm watching this, oh boy, like that song by the dude who defeated Vecna this week. Joe Keery has that song. Let's take you back to the dagger. I feel it. Back to the beginning. So, today's subject.
Have we told people what the subject?
Yeah, we're gonna get into the subject now.
Okay.
So today's subject at the top of the key is Stranger Things. It just wrapped up earlier this month. First thing at the end of the year 2025, we got Stranger Things on New Year's Eve. So it's like 31st first, because most people didn't watch it till the next day, and their Netflix broke down. Because I went in to try and catch some clips of it, and their Netflix was done. Like, it was actually out of commission for a little bit there. Isn't that some shit?
Yeah.
It was out. So
see, I had family in town, so I didn't really get to start it until at least the day after. I think that's when we started it.
Yeah, like I was watching everything as it came out, because even when I went online to say Happy New Year's to some of our colleagues over at Hard Talk, hi Chucky Larry, hi Arlie Grind, I went on to say Happy New Year's to them. That ending was already there. Like, fuck, you people are like menaces. Like, minutes after it was up, they were already like clips of the ending up on fucking Instagram and TikTok.
So did you have it spoiled for you?
No, that's why I yelled at everybody on my New Year's Eve watch party. Fuck you. I'm gonna watch it. So if you got a problem, don't come around here on New Year's. I need to watch it. So my wife gave everybody like a week's advance head notice. Like, he's gonna be watching it, so y'all better catch up. So nobody fought. Everybody either was aware that they were gonna be, in the middle of this, or the other ones that weren't aware were fully aware that there was going to be Stranger Things on, and I don't want to be bothered. You were warned. So we finished Stranger Things here on New Year's Eve. I was able to catch it all the way. I enjoyed the finale, and
I liked it too.
So much so that as I was vlogging about it on TikTok, being Murray of Stranger Things was not in my 2026 bingo card, but it's the first one that got stamped right there. Some kids on TikTok message me and they go, "Hey, yeah, you like talking about shit that's, based on related to horror, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." You're from New York, right? I'm like, "Sure." These kids are from Indiana, of all fucking places, where Hawkins is. Do you know that Stranger Things was inspired right on Long Island? Something happened on Long Island, and it was the inspiration, but a lot of people weren't really talking about it during the show's run. Really. So I look into it, and Stranger Things was originally named Montauk. That was the working title as they were writing the first draft for it. The story of a little girl 11 escaping a lab that was conducting telekinetic psychic experiments on children assigned by a number was inspired by an actual account over here in Montauk Point over at Camp Hero. And that's the subject of today, folks. Today I'm going to refer to this episode as a belief suspended episode. We are going to, you think today a suspension of disbelief while you're watching something insane? Well, get ready to have your belief actually suspended because Stranger Things, this story, has more in common with Stranger Things that made me literally go cross-eyed as I was fucking watching it, reading this, watching the documentaries, watching these guys talk. There was just so much to go through here that it was insane. It's always Montauk, goddammit. Oh yeah, no, like there was incidences throughout Montauk within the past 15 years, and that's like after the camp shut down. There's just some shit that's just been all over it. I'm like, oh, okay. Sometimes I feel like I'm nuts, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is just nuts. And then something else happens. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a little strange. And then it happens again. 15 years to the date. Again. And I'm like, this needs talking to, especially since I wound up visiting Camp Hero myself this week. I went down there personally to go check it out.
Before we really go into the Montauk Project stuff, just on Stranger Things. Now, I guess we can try to talk a little bit about it without going into specifics about the ending. I do generally think that on this podcast we can freely talk about endings, but when something just came out, I don't know. I feel like I should hold back a little bit,
so
but we'll see.
I'll say to some folks, spoilers ahead because you can't help but dissect an ending without giving away spoilers. So, what is your thoughts? Final thoughts on something? So I'll let you go first with your opinions, and I'll discuss mine, and we'll kind of like vaguely discuss the stuff that's been getting critiques online. I'll talk about everything but the final episode all the way through. We'll do that. So the season's been out for like a month. Final season 5's been out for at least a month.
Yeah. So I like shows that don't give me everything that I want. I remember, and this is a confession, in college I used to watch Glee with my girlfriend. And
watches Glee.
I didn't hate it. That was I can admit that. I am not so insecure in my manhood that I need to pretend like I don't like Glee. I enjoyed it. However, one issue that I did have with it was that I thought that it always gave the audience exactly what they wanted. And sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, like I really wanted that character to have that win, but it's like this happens every episode. Like, you just give me what I want every episode, and I just feel like it's a little condescending. I just feel like you should challenge me as a viewer a little bit more. And everybody wanted Stranger Things to end with Elle getting out. You know, like Hopper has that great monologue where he's telling Elle, you know, life has been so unfair to you, and you really need to give having an actual life a shot, and let us help you do that. And everybody wanted it to end that way, with her getting together with Mike, and everybody lives happily ever after. But that would have been a satisfying ending, like kind of in your gut, but it wouldn't have been a beautiful ending. And I think the ending that they did go with in the end was beautiful, because the show starts with everybody meeting Elle, and the show ends with everybody saying goodbye to Elle. It's a full circle. The ending mirrors the beginning. It's just, and it's the win that Elle has is that she gets to uh, she gets to make the decision herself. She gets to have a moment of courage, and she gets to like become a Christ-like figure. I guess you could put it that way. Um, but it's just a beautiful ending. I think it's the way that it needed to end, and it's like it's sad, but it does something for me. It just felt right. It felt in character. It felt like what needed to happen. So that's what I'll say.
So, regarding that, we already crossed into that point. Uh, I was fine with it too. Like, I read what the Duffer Brothers mentioned about her. And when the Duffer Brothers, like, I've been paying attention to the Duffer Brothers. Like, I always like listening to the writer. Like, over the break, I was actually watching another weird show called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Great show. I will tell you more about it off air. But great show. The concept, I'll just tell you the concept real quick. The concept is they show certain sections as a sitcom with the laugh track and everything. But
Oh.
when the lady's husband leaves the room, it goes into single cam, and you're kind of following her around, and you kind of see the reality of what it would be like to be married to a shitty sitcom husband. Like, these guys are toxic as fuck. When you stop to really think about it, right? Like, these guys are toxic as fuck. And as you get closer, you realize that they seem incompetent, but they're actually fucking abusive. So when I heard the author talk about it, she was inspired by what happened behind the scenes of this other show called Kevin Can Wait, where the show wasn't doing very well, so they unceremoniously killed off the wife in that show and replaced her with Leah Remini, because they thought that that pair would work again, and it didn't. And that inspired her to write Kevin Can Fuck Himself. When I listened to the Duffer Brothers made a very interesting point about Eleven. She is their representation of childhood. And that's essentially what the show is. It's their childhood from from their like early preteen years, is like 10 to 9 to 10, all the way until high school ends. And now they're going into the college world. Some of them are just straight up going to go to work after this is all over. But we've come full circle. Yeah, just a viewer. I suggest you track it down. Great show. Anyways, we come full circle. When 11 leaves, those events of the upside down, the monsters, the soldiers looking for them, the agents, and all that shit, that ends when she's gone. Just
Yes.
like their childhood. But the segment, I believe, is reminiscent of another trope that we have right now. Especially, I think, among millennials. It's a very big trope. We believe that our childhood is out there somewhere. We're just hoping that, either A, whatever the stuff we liked as kids and our innocence is, living its best life somewhere else. It's a way of us, like, not letting it go. Letting it go, but accepting, right, that this might be the way things are. that's essentially what's happening there. The Duffer brothers are pretty much telling you the kids are not, and she's not coming back. There was never an ending where that was going to happen. But at the end of everything, they're bigger people for having experienced this way. And that's all you need to know. That's it. Like, that's where the storybook ends. So for me, I was fine with it. Some people were complaining about how they wish it would have been different, how they could have done it better. I'm like, we're living in a post Star Wars sequel trilogy era, folks. Everybody's their own writer. Everybody has their own idea. Everybody has their own thing. So I'm going to say to those people what I say to everybody all the time. If you have a great idea, do not go on fucking Reddit and then go ahead and tell everybody what your idea is. And then say, they should make this. You get out there and you write it. Kevin Smith told me that shit. I met Kevin Smith one time at a con, and that's exactly what he said. You write the stories you want to see. Do not wait for another studio to do it. You do it. So if you think you could have written Stranger Things better, challenge accepted. Go write your own, create your own characters. That shit is hard. Create a setting. That's also hard. Create a plot. That's also hard. And then make all of these things cohesively work to a finale which you think is satisfying before you sit down and give shit to writers because it didn't fit whatever agenda or interest you've got. There, end my rant. Yeah.
I cannot think of a single... Well, the thing is, I can think of one, but only one, show that had a distinct intentional ending that people actually found satisfying. People hated the ending of The Sopranos. They hated Game of Thrones. The one show that I can think of where they actually liked the ending was Breaking Bad. That's the only one I can think of.
And they still had to do a supplemental episode because people were complaining that they didn't know what happened to Jesse Pinkman. And then they did a prequel series because people wanted to know more about Saul Goodman. And even the final segment of Better Call Saul was still more of a sequel to the finale of fucking Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So it just keeps going. Hello. So it's one of these things. I'm like, let it go. Let the story just close. And you fucking people love that stupid song 14 years ago. Let it go. Jesus. No, they didn't even let that go. They made a sequel to that fucking terrible movie. Yeah, I said it. Frozen sucked.
Okay, that's a different episode.
Yeah, I just went nuts. Somebody played it in every different language one day, and then I just said, all right, I hate this now.
Every language.
Every language. They said it in Chinese,
Russian, Spanish, French,
fucking Danish.
Sumerian.
I think, I don't know if they had Sumerian, but they had it in Vietnamese. They had it even in some language off of some island somewhere. And when I heard that thing go for like the 30th time, I just said, I hate this now. I hate it. That's it. I didn't even watch the movie yet, and I already hate it. It's just, all right. Fuck.
Something can be loved. Something can be loved to death. I think I've heard that term before. Something is loved to death.
I also hate that guy who does the voice of Olaf, Josh Gad. He's not funny.
Oh, okay.
So fuck him too. Add Josh Gad to the list. Fuck him. He's not funny. First one of 2026, Josh Gad. Fuck him. He's about to go ruin Spaceballs 2 for me because he's in that too. Fuck him.
Summer.
Fuck him. We're adding Josh Gad to the list.
Okay. Is what people don't like about the Stranger Things ending, or is one of them that they kill Elle, but then they have that thing where they're all sitting down and playing D&D, and Mike has that story about, the stand-in for Elle that might have escaped and might be off in New Zealand somewhere at a hippie commune. Is that what people didn't like? The fact that they kind of they gave you an ending and then they made it ambiguous?
It's actually more morbid than that.
Okay.
People are mad that there were no major deaths in the finale.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Really?
we're
Too many
entering.
people live.
Yeah, like we're entering now that part of our culture where Game of Thrones is the dominant show, right? It's been the dominant show for a couple years now. So now we're getting into the notion that character shows, TV shows need to show character deaths to an insane degree. So people were mad that there were nobody major got killed off.
So it wasn't that 11 died; it was that not enough people died.
Bingo. And even then, like they were mad at the possibility that she may be out there. They were mad at that too.
Right.
And they were also mad that there's always this one fucking group of people out there. They were mad that Will came out as gay, but then they're like, what does that have to do with the ending? I'm like, it's not your story. It's just a guy coming out gay, but it's, to give him the bravery in the final sequence, which does happen.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things that are there at play. Like, it is what it is. So then, we can use this to kind of pivot where we're going, because Hopper's final line of the show is, I took a job as the new chief of police out in Montauk. And
Yeah.
people just can't accept the ending so much that this is what caused this shit to land on my desk, because of these people that refuse to believe that it's over. So they believe that the Duffer Brothers announced that there's a spinoff, but the Duffer Brothers are pretty cool. They're not very they're not very secretive people. Not like that fat piece of shit, thieving, no good fucking plagiarist George R. Martin with his lousy beard and his stupid hat. Fuck him, plagiarizing piece
Be
of shit.
aware, be aware, dear audience, that does not count as defamation because all of those are opinions, not tangible
It is the
truth
opinion.
claims
It is my
about.
opinion of Carlos, aka Punk and Jack, that fucking no good, stealing, fucking piece of shit, lazy ass George R. R. Martin can't finish a book because the guy who he was stealing from died about 5 years ago. So now he has no ending because that guy's dead. He's sitting there waiting for Berserk to end so that he'll end his fucking Song of Ice and Fire that nobody cares about anymore, because he sold the TV rights and people don't read anymore. They only write. They only watch TV. That's been a thing since the 90s, and now it's a very big problem. So no one cares anymore, George R. R. Martin. Fuck you. So back to where we were.
If you're listening,
If you're listening, I hope somebody out there makes this land on his fucking Twitter, so I go viral for saying "fuck you, I hate you, you're not cool, your books suck now." Anyways, so back to where we were. People didn't want to accept the ending of Stranger Things, so much so that it they believe that that last line there has to do with a real life military thing known as, well, real life, some fucking crackpot, known as Project Montauk, which was the working title for Stranger Things, Montauk. And
can
they
I
were,
just say,
yes,
I'm really glad. I'm really glad they changed the title because I don't have a problem with shows that are just named after the location, like Deadwood, Oz. That's fine. But Stranger Things is a great title. That's a really good title. It's a lot better than Montauk.
So
Also, I think that the reason why they decided to not set it in Montauk was because they thought that yeah, like the story is based on those theories about what happened all the way on the east end of Long Island, but it would be kind of limiting to base it too closely on that. So like setting it in Indiana, like far inland, in a fictional town, in a fictional town in kind of a neutral state, would give them a little more freedom as to what they could do with the plot.
oh, it definitely did. And
Yeah.
the other thing that I heard, the way I understood this was three things caused it to become the way that it was. A, the township of Montauk does not like visitors. Now I mean that like in a racist way. Like they're not racist out there at all. It's more so that town is isolated as fuck. Like it, there's no major highway that takes you there. It's a series of red lights. Like once you leave Riverhead, right? It's like
Yeah.
a one narrow ass road. There's no highway. One narrow ass road, and you're on that bitch for 40 minutes. It's an hour to get there, right? And then you're on that fucking road for like 40 minutes until you see the lighthouse. So literally all there is in Montauk is a few houses, the lighthouse, and the base. And that's it. There's nothing else there. It's just that. That's all that's there. And that base, they've been trying to sell it for years. The property, the government's been trying to sell that property for years to developers. And there's like some group of people that get to stick up their ass and they're like, no, we don't want this land developed. We like it the way that it is. And they win. They win those arguments. That's why Camp Hero is now a state park. So if you would have set Stranger Things in that place, those people would have been pissed because you already get people making their way out there like me. Yeah. And then they're going to have more people out there to see where the show was shot. So I think it's by design that they didn't have that.
There's a lot of really beautiful, undeveloped natural areas on Long Island. So, if we can keep some of those around, I'm happy with that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm cool.
Even if it does take a reputation of conspiracies, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, like I'm okay with certain areas staying underdeveloped and not being touched or anything like that. That's totally fine by me. I have this philosophy: you live where you want to live, and you have the right to fight legally and ethically, of course, to keep the place you want to live in, normal or the way that it was, if that's how it is. Whatever, that's up to you. But in this situation, I get why they did it. So that was one. Two, the other thing that I read is that Stranger Things was originally conceived as an anthology series. So it was supposed to be Stranger Things Volume 1, Montauk. Stranger Things Volume 2 was supposed to be whatever that spin-off is probably going to be.
With a completely different cast of characters,
story, or whatever. Yeah. So
and it would have been one of those shows that's an anthology at the season level, because in the original Twilight Zone, it was an anthology at the episode level. Every episode was completely different. But then you have things like American Horror Story, where where you have a whole season of one setting, one set of characters, and then the next season it goes to a different one, and then the next one to a different one. So that's what Stranger Things was originally supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's more or less what they were aiming for. So when I heard more about it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so this is what they were aiming for. It wasn't supposed to be that. It wasn't supposed to be 5 seasons. But, credit to them, they managed to extend the life of it for 5 years, especially when we get to where it came from. So that was the second reason why it came on like that.
Yeah, people just loved the characters so much that they were just like, hey, we want more of this.
Yeah, and that's more or less how it went down. So that's how that one went down. And the third thing that I also heard was by setting it in Indiana, you also allow for more. Indiana is like I've driven through Indiana. It's one of those states that it has no identity whatsoever. So when you think of small town America, most of the time it's modeled after Indiana. You ever play?
Yeah, Indiana's kind of.
Yeah,
it's kind of. It's kind of the prototypical middle America state, where it's just like, there's no equivalent of the cheesesteak or there's no like big landmark. There's no equivalent of like the Space Needle or the Empire State Building or the Riverwalk in San Antonio. Like, it's not really known for anything. And this isn't a knock against Indiana. I've been to Indiana. I've been to Indiana Dunes National Park. It's a really beautiful place. But as far as just like, you know, things that it's well known for, I can't really point to one thing. So it is sort of like a very it is a very neutral state where you don't really you don't feel like you have to give any nods to the location. And so in some shows that's the strength, or one of the strengths of the show, is that it has a strong sense of place. Going back to King of the Hill, like there's lots of references to the fact that it takes place in Texas. And that's part of what makes that show, because Texas is known for a lot of fun and funny things. But if you don't want to be bogged down by that, if you don't want to be obligated to give any nods to where your story takes place, set it in Indiana or Kansas or maybe Ohio. Like somewhere in the heartland. Nebraska would be a good one too.
Yep. And it's one of those things, right, which I've explained to some folks before. When you do places like this, the towns are their own little characters. Arlen is a character in the city, in the story of King of the Hill. Just like Springfield and The Simpsons and Hawkins now in Stranger Things. And like Montauk.
Things that take place in
Sorry.
Things that take place in New York City too. Like there's a lot of nods to where it is. Like anything in New York kind of really seems to. It kind of has to feel like it's New York. Like in Seinfeld, there's lots of references to it being in New York. So, yeah. And, either way is good. Strong sense of place is good. Not strong sense of place, that's also good.
Yep. So, and like in this area, we're going back to it, is I feel like once we open this rabbit hole, there's no going back. There just is no going back once we open it, so we gotta open it up. So, as I was saying before, I made a trip out to Montauk. I said Montauk a million times this week. The reason why is because in the 70s, actually, I'm even bullshitting, that wasn't true. In the 90s, at some point, two guys, well, actually in the 70s, one guy, and the other one in the 90s, they both came forward saying that they suddenly remembered, out of nowhere, they remembered that they were a part of secret government experiments conducted on children to help them foster telekinetic abilities and accomplish time travel through the use of psychic wormholes, in which one was opened at Camp Hero, where a humanoid lizard monster escaped and the military tried to fight it off, but they couldn't. And this guy used his telekinesis to push it back through the vortex and then shut the wormhole down. And that's why Camp Hero was decommissioned. He did all of this at the age, I believe, according to him, of 21. However, he was also working as some fucking truck like driver or something like that, mind my language, in another place, and people claim to have seen him there, and he said that's because he was also time traveling as he was doing all these other things. So if some people are used to seeing him there because he's time traveling, and this is all a part of the government using him as a psyop to also travel into the future, wherein he was also befriended by an alien humanoid, which he was cleaning the bathroom one day and accidentally gave him Drano to drink, and the humanoid loved it like it was candy, and he kept giving the lizard man this stuff to drink. I am not lying when I say I believe this guy believes what he said. And that inspired the story of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
The guy's
I didn't
name.
hear about the Drano as soda pop part. That one's news to me.
I sat there and I watched them talk. I'm like, wait a minute. This is just, I have to hear all of this. Like I can't like listen to some of this and then not go look at the guy because he's very documented. The gentleman in question is yeah, the chat's going, what in the fan fiction? They smoked all of it. Don't do drugs, people. Yeah, drugs don't cause you to do this shit. So essentially, what went on here was his name was Preston Nichols. He passed away in 2018. Uh, Preston Nichols claimed to have traveled through time. He claimed to have visited other dimensions. He claimed to be telepathic. And the reason he claimed that he unlocked all of this through the use of technology, and then that through the technology they wiped his mind when he was a child, hence he forgot about all these events. And because of wormholes, people would see him, but they were oblivious to the fact that he was living another life somewhere else. So Preston Nichols traveled the country giving lectures about all this because people actually would pay to go watch him do that. He gave base tours of Camp Hero while it was abandoned. Like he got in there with his people and he filmed the camera and everything.
Which I don't know about you, but that raises suspicions about the veracity of his claims. Like if he were truly telling the truth about some dark secret of our government's scientific history, then why would they just let him go onto the base and take all this footage and talk about these things that supposedly happened? I don't know. Why would they grant him a permit? Maybe you could say, well, it would look worse if they didn't grant it, if they didn't grant him a permit. This just makes it look like they've got nothing to hide. So I guess you could say like they're playing five dimensional chess, but I don't know. Eventually, the number of dimensions bottoms out, and you need to like just say, I don't know if that would happen.
So I'll say something about this because I'm looking into it, I'm like, how the hell did this guy get on the base? How the hell does this guy know? So I actually watched his tour. I watched the whole thing. This is like about an hour and some change of him walking through the base filming on some terrible like found footage esque tape that he released.
It's hard to watch. Like it makes you sick.
Yeah, it makes you sick, but I've seen a lot of stupid crap in the past, so it was an easy deal with, easy to get through for me. So basically, how do I put this? Camp Hero was not as secretive as most people believed it to be. That's the first thing, right? It wasn't as secretive. It was also not as what do you call it? Not as hidden as some people think it is. The thing is, because it's faded to obscurity now, some people have like a very odd sort of relationship with it, right? They think that this place was so secret, then, how is it that now, nobody knows what it is, etc., etc. So, how do I put it? With all that being said, what winds up happening is people could go there, I'm assuming, and just visit. And I'm pretty sure the Air Force, because it's not a top secret base, the whole purpose of Camp Hero was legitimately to protect against invading forces. That was it. It's an outpost because Montauk is so isolated. They believed it needed, a lighthouse, and it also needed to be sort of a vigil. So that's what I was told about it.
And this was during World War II when it was built, right?
Yeah, it was built. I remember hearing. I get confused on when it was built. I think it was officially built during World War II. However, there may have been like what do you call it? There may have been some kind of presence there before.
During World War II, it would have been an army base, and then later, I guess, it became an Air Force base because the Air Force didn't exist during World War II.
Yeah, like it was something like that. It's a very odd place, a very odd like location. They have a lot, like it is weird. They have a lot of like heavy shit there, and some of the stuff that's still there, you're like, why is this still here? Like the radar tower, like they apparently refuse to dismantle the radar towers. It'd be too hard to dismantle, so they're just letting it rot. Like one day, that thing is just gonna collapse.
And a few weeks ago, we were talking about the Mothman story, where you had those disused weapons depots that are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like decades after the end of the war, they're just sitting there. They're part of the state park now. Just
yeah. They're there.
It becomes a part of the landscape, I guess.
Yeah. It's a very fascinating thing. It's a very fascinating phenomenon. Like once you really start to break it down, right? It's hard to really like understand the logic of these people as to why they do it, but they do it. So to the original point, right? A lot of folks seem to think that Camp Hero was very secret, and it wasn't. Very public. So it's possible Preston Nichols at some point was given a tour, because I'm assuming they let little kids probably go take tours there, and he gave this account. But I have to say something about Preston Nichols though. I think he believes what he said. Personally.
Yeah, that's the one that's harder to determine. It's like you can take someone's claims and you can just analyze if they're objectively possible or how likely are they, how believable are they, but then taking a shot at whether they believe what they say is true is quite another thing. Yeah, that's a little it's a little harder, and I guess you can never really know. But there is a difference between saying something untrue that you know to be untrue and saying something untrue that you believe to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's one of those. Like I think he thinks he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I don't think he's telling the truth. I think he thinks that. When you look
at the way that he remembers this stuff, so he claims that all this knowledge that he has about what happened at Montauk was repressed. It was hidden in his unconscious mind, but he went through hypnosis, and that's how he uncovered these memories. And that is a knock against the story, in my view, because repressed memory therapy does not have a good history. There's stories that you can read about during the Satanic Panic, the time in between I think the late 70s and the early 90s. I think that's roughly the range where there were a lot of widely believed conspiracy theories that there were Satanists in our schools, in our government, in every major institution is infiltrated by Satanists, and these Satanists, they forcibly impregnate girls so that they can have babies that they can then sacrifice to Satan. And you had all these court cases where these supposed victims had gone through repressed memory therapy and had, lo and behold, they had all these memories of, I was forcibly impregnated and my baby was sacrificed to Satan, but there was no physical evidence of that found of any kind. And the prevailing view as what happened was that when they underwent hypnosis, and I guess whatever method that they were using for repressed memory therapy, the therapy therapy turned out to not uncover that there was repressed memories, but to actually implant false memories. The therapy wasn't undoing the repression. It was suggestive therapy. It was kind of giving it was giving people the illusion that they had these memories of satanic ritual abuse. So, given that reputation, and given just kind of what I know about the mind and how I'm pretty convinced the human mind works, and we've talked a little bit about this on previous episodes, I think that it's basically all bunk. You know, like I don't know. I'm not even sure if I believe in repression. I don't know if I even believe in hypnosis. Like, it's just like I'm by instinct very skeptical of this kind of thing.
So, I believe in hypnosis, but hypnosis is not like how it's painted in the movies and stuff.
You are getting
Hypnosis,
sleepy, very sleepy.
yeah,
No,
like
yeah.
that's not how hypnosis works. Hypnosis is more so a system of suggestive thoughts being planted in your brain. So, one movie that I feel did hit the nail on the head with hypnosis in unintentionally was Inception. Inception hit the nail on the head. The idea is that hypnosis can sort of convince you of something and make you believe it was your own, and thus you behave through the influence, right? That's what it does. So, Preston Nichols, he claims that he remembered this all of a sudden, and that one day he just woke up from this phenomenon that he was experiencing with repressed memories. And he wrote, I think, 12 books on the subject, the Montauk Chronicles or something like that. 12 whole books he
Oh,
wrote
much
on
fun.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was more or less when I did this summary, I'm like, a dude claimed this happened for real. Now, adding further to this was that there was another guy who came out and he said that he was also a part of, he was there at Project Montauk, but he was a part of another project conducted by the U.S. government called the Philadelphia Experiment, where they were trying to cloak a Navy. Again, folks, I'm not on the hopium, and I wish I had a Mac hat and the fucking sunglasses right now.
Oh man, you do have those transition lenses.
I
That
know.
kind of does. But yeah.
That's the best I can do right now, folks. That's what Al Bialek said. That's the name of the guy. Al Bialek said that he was on that base back in the day. And when he was on the
What do you
base.
have? What do you have to say about that, Hank?
Oh, God.
Dang it, Dale! It was just a boat.
So.
I like boats. I'll tell you what, I dang a boat name.
It's so ridiculous when this one comes into it, but we're gonna just go ahead and plow through it. So this one is basically Al Bielek comes out and he says that he was there. Al Bielek is the second guy. Al Bielek claims that he was at the Philadelphia experiment and that he remembered being a part of this by watching a movie. I'm not kidding. He said that he was watching the movie and that the movie triggered to unlock memories.
Mm-hmm.
Call me skeptical, but fuck you. Like that's
Well, hold on. You know, have you never had a moment where you are reminded of something from like in your deep past where it's like, I can't believe I remember that. I haven't thought about that for like 22 years, and yet that was in there somewhere. You never had a moment like that?
yes, but I believe if what this guy said happened to him were a thing, I believe I would remember this stuff. So this guy comes in and he makes the claim that he was at the Philadelphia experiment, Philadelphia project. He was a part of this thing. I can't remember off the top. Something Reich or something like that. That's the name of the ship in the movie he saw too. So that's how for the thing that's all bullshit. that there was a wormhole. When they're trying to cloak this ship, they accidentally opened a wormhole through space time. And when they opened the wormhole through space time, he jumped through the wormhole, him and his brother. He dragged his brother into this shit. Him and his brother were then transported to the year 2847, I believe he said it was. 2847. And that in the year he lived in the year 2847 for up to 3 years until he could make his way home. And he tells a very elaborate, fantastical tale of life in the future and how they're concerned about how there will be no life by the year 3000 or something like that. And he has up to 5 hours of biography time. I ain't watched that shit. I saw his lecture. He gave a 47-minute lecture back in the 70s or like the late 70s, early 80s, and it's on tape. Somebody actually paid this guy. And on top of that, you can tell that the Russian that's listening to him is leading him on. But yeah, this was that was a couple hours of brain rot before brain rot was a thing.
Brain rot's been a thing for a long time. The term brain rot, though.
Oh yeah, no. So this guy basically, when you listen to Al Bielek, I don't believe Al Bielek, and I don't believe Al Bielek thinks he's telling the truth.
Why do you think that he's lying?
So when you go look at Preston Nichols is even one eye is going the other way. Like there is something wrong. Like he looks like he's somebody that is like on OCD medication or something. He should be on OCD medication. Because if you were to walk into Preston Nichols' house, he used to have like mountains of functional stereo and like audio equipment in his house. And he would have like he was like, again, he wasn't stupid. He knew how to set up all these electronic and all this shit. And I think like he might have had a chance of being a regular engineer, consider what he was doing. He had all of this audio, digital equipment, recording equipment, and he knew how to like how an engine and everything worked. So much so he even set up some kind of contraption in his house where this thing was attached to the ceiling and it would shoot out red waves into him, and he would lie down under the red waves hoping to kind of transport himself telekinetically somewhere to another time. But he didn't burn his house down.
It's this kind of elaborate storytelling and just like the real kind of techie conspiracy theory stuff, like outfitting your house to protect you from the radio waves and the sort of thing that Preston Nichols was setting up in his room or in his home. This is what happens when a smart person goes crazy.
Yeah.
Because they have the mind to organize all of these plot points and to invent all of these theories or come up with these explanations for what they see. And they have the ability to take all of these elaborate measures to satisfy their paranoias precisely because they're not stupid.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like he wasn't a stupid dude. But the way that he said his stuff, I believe he might have just suffered a mental break at some point. And whatever trauma he might have experienced, this is me being an armchair therapist, right? I'm not qualified to talk about this, but he does kind of match a different phenomenon that you mentioned earlier.
For the record, we at the Ghastly Hollows are not qualified to talk about anything. So
yeah, we're not certified. I have a degree in international criminal justice, and that kind of throws a wide net into the amount of weird stuff that I know. But
I have a degree in English, the language that I speak, the language of my native country. It doesn't make any sense. So no, I'm not qualified to talk about anything.
So it's funky though. So like when I get into it, I'm like, yeah, this is a bit weird. But I learned a little bit about sociology and anthropology in college, and like one of the main talking points is people like Preston Nichols. There is a sense of truth. He could pass a polygraph if he was told. Why? Because Preston Nichols more or less understands or has a comprehensive attitude, if that makes any sense. Like he genuinely believes that what he's saying is the truth. And it makes him a very like plausible, it makes for a very plausible theory, right? It doesn't sound like something that you would believe is full of crap. Which is why I think he's had like such an enduring amount of like resonance with people, I guess. Because other people would then come out and claim that they too were a part of Project Montauk, right? Even though, how the hell, right? But, people are allowed to say or think whatever they want to think unless they're not harming anybody. So, he believes it, but Al Bialek, to me, strikes me as when you look at Al Bialek, he doesn't look deranged like Preston Nichols. Al Bialek looks like a regular dude who sat down and came up with an elaborate story. Secondly, Al Bialek claims that he got this notion from watching a movie. All right, I gotta tell you guys something here on the Ghastly Hallows. A couple weeks ago, I was watching the movie Predator. And then I remembered that secretly all this time I've been a secret government commando. And they sent us into the desert to fight this humanoid alien, folks. It's real. It's out there, people. That's where the Alex Jones voice comes in, because that's what I sound like when I'm in commando mode. And I can turn it on and off whenever I feel like it. But I just don't. I was fighting the frogs to turn the other friggin' frogs gay. Hannah, crap! But it goes back to it, right? Like, oh yeah, is this a thing? Like, no, it's not a thing. Like, it's a lie. He just had time to concoct it, portray it, and as long as you sound very dignified in what you say, stupid people believe you. And I hate to call people stupid who believe in this shit, but you're stupid because you have a problem accepting whatever reality is around you, and you believe assholes like that, and you pay for their $30 book to find some kind of guidance. Like, I'm sorry, like, but no.
It's ill-advised behavior.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. That's the politically correct way of saying what I wanted to say. But yes, most people know what I'm talking about when I say it. It's just, it comes off as like, what are you doing? Why would you do this in the first place? Like, it's just, how do I put this? It's just asinine. To quote Hank Hill, right. It's just asinine.
Asinine. Yeah. Yeah, it's indicative of maybe a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Getting into conspiracy theories. But there's some conspiracy theories that, are popular among people that you wouldn't think of as being conspiracy theorists. The stereotypical conspiracy theorist is the like kind of a middle-aged white guy that doesn't have a whole lot going on in his life, and if he does have a lot going on, then his indulgence in this conspiracy theory is going to make him lose all that he has going on. So
isn't that exactly what Lisa Simpson said?
I mean, like there's all sorts of different conspiracies that attract all sorts of different types of people. There's right-wing conspiracies, there's left-wing conspiracy theories. It's a pretty diverse field, is what I'm saying.
Isn't that exactly what Lisa Simpson said, though? The thing is that the guys who always come up saying that they saw aliens are always these losers that have nothing going on or something like that. And then there's you, Dad.
And then there's you, Dad. Oh, and then there's you, Dad. Yeah, yeah. That was when that's when Mr. Burns turns out to be the alien, right? Is that episode?
Yep, that's the episode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I bring you love. It's trying to bring love. Kill it. Kill it. Oh man. And people wonder why
I love the scenes. I love the scenes where Homer is leading an angry mob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when they have to defeat the killer dolphins, he goes, "Come on, everyone! We've wiped out entire species before. We can do it again."
Oh yeah, that episode is the best.
As a nature lover and conservationist, I love that. So.
That episode was the best. And the dolphins, you gotta give it those dolphins. They just wanted it more.
They just wanted it more, yeah.
But back to the subject of bullshit Al Bielek. His story, to me, it's like, no, brother, you're full of crap. Because also, he seems like he's trying to one-up Preston Nichols every step of the way. Because Preston Nichols says, yeah, I saw that alien. He didn't like me very much. And the interviewer's like, but Al Bielek says that him and them eventually had a respect. Well, that was him. That wasn't me. The alien didn't like me very much. I'm like...
Now, Preston Nichols claimed to actually be a Montauk boy, right?
Yeah.
Al Bielek was not a Montauk boy. He was one of the guys that worked on the original Philadelphia project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
so they had a very different history, or supposed history, with the project.
Yeah. Once again, so he claims. Because he claims a lot of things, that guy. He claims that he traveled through time. He claims that he gave a very... he said that in the future there will be cities in the sky and all this stuff, and that there's no currency in the future. Yeah. I listened to a lot of his shit. I went Del Gribble. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go insane watching this shit. I know it. But yeah. So, Al Bielek, full of shit. But it's fascinating when we get to this stuff, because I'm gonna give the Duffer Brothers a lot of credibility here, and I hope you guys understand what I mean when I say credibility or kudos. The Duffer Brothers came back, heard this wild nonsensical shit, and they crafted it into a very valid narrative. You can't say that the dumbest thing that the human body does. You can't say that it is an incoherent show, because they've crafted an entire narrative on the fly for this show. And it's a very enduring, long-lasting thing that people are going to be into. It's the next Harry Potter. But they saw this and made a story. I see this and I'd be like, oh, hell no. We're not doing this. But there was something else I wanted to tell you guys about, because I went to Camp Hero, right? Have you ever been there? You're a Suffolk County guy.
I actually haven't. I have been to Montauk, but I was going for a seal walk or a whale watch or something. Right. I don't think I've ever been to Camp Hero.
So when I went to Camp Hero, right, I went at a great time because it was more or less empty. So, 1 second here. These people. So when I went, it was more or less empty. Not many people were there yet. No bloggers yet. Bloggers got there when I was leaving. But there's something off about that place. And I don't mean this to sound that, because I saw some things that I'll admit to right now were illegal as fuck. I saw some people. I didn't see people breaking in to the tower, but I saw the chain link fence cut. and I heard voices on the other side from the distance. So either that cut was fresh or people sneak into where those bolts were cut or whatever the hell. But I wasn't about to go in there. I'm like, nah, I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to get arrested. But there's this odd quiet there. Maybe you can explain it to me. You don't hear birds for shit. No birds, no deer, no rodents, nothing. It's just quiet. And I always have this saying, there's good quiet and there's bad quiet.
It's the classic line, it's quiet.
Too quiet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it,
but
it's like that out there.
Yeah, well, two things. One, if you're there in the middle of the day, there's not going to be that many birds there to begin with, because bird activity peaks in, like, the early morning, like somewhere between sunset and 10 in the morning, something like that. And with mammals, there's deer out there, and they're fairly common, but, you don't see them all the time. And often, like, just out when you're out in the woods, like out where nature is supposed to be, you actually don't see a whole lot. You have to walk around for a bit before you actually see something interesting. So maybe that's part of it, but if it seemed unsettling to you, the amount of quiet, then maybe there's something there.
So that's one thing, and then, like, it's weird that you don't hear even deer. Like, like most places after a while, right? Like, I was there for like an hour or two. I was taking pictures. I was like on TikTok live for anybody on TikTok. Have you seen this?
Eastern Long Island does have its share of deer, that's for sure. They have so many deer that there's actually deer hunting on Long Island.
There is?
There is. You can hunt deer on Long Island.
Oh, interesting. Then I'm going to go hunting. I'm not a hunter. But it is a very fascinating phenomenon, right? So I was out there, and the reason why I wanted to see out there myself was A, I wanted to actually take pictures. B, I wanted to actually see up close, see what I could see. And then lastly, I tried to make my way down towards the water. I actually drove up towards the Camp Hero is very weird. There's a parking lot where there's a lake. There's a parking lot where you go to see the beach, and then it's like a very little sort of turn off. You got to make it just right, and I got to make a loop to get into Camp Hero. And you make a left, and you're off into the camp to get to the parking picnic sites and all that. So what happens? I try to go park and see around, because the reason why I was interested in going to the beach was there was another weird incident that happened within 2 times in 15 years out at Montauk Beach. I don't know if you heard about this one. The Montauk Monster.
Oh yes.
You're the crypto
I remember
guy
this
around here.
I remember this very distinctly. It was a very exciting time. So, yeah, in 2008 on the coast of on one of the beaches in Montauk, you had this extremely strange photo of an extremely strange creature that just doesn't look like anything of this world. It's this bald, fat, kind of like maybe a rat, maybe a possum, maybe a parrot. Like it like looks some sort. It looks like some sort of ungodly science experiment when you first see it. Like it's got paws and a beak and this rat tail. It's just like it looks like something unnatural. And a lot of talk went on about, well, maybe this is some sort of experiment that came from Plum Island. Now, Plum Island is off the coast and towards the north of Montauk, and there you have an animal disease research center. Now, in reality, what this center does is research mostly on foot and mouth disease, which is a disease that's common in cattle. It causes really severe blistering reduces milk production and can be fatal. So the main job of this lab on Plum Island is to manage, study, and reduce the impact of foot and mouth disease to protect the cattle industry. But there's all sorts of conspiracy theories about, what actually goes on there. And maybe they're doing these experiments where they're making creatures in test tubes. I guess that's what some people think, and this is one of those creatures. How it relates to the Montauk project, however, is supposedly in all of this fooling around with different dimensions and time travel and bending time and traveling between time periods through wormholes. We unleashed some sort of creature that's come out of all of this monkeying with physics, and the Montauk monster could have been an example of one of these creatures. But when you look into some of the skeptical response from to the Montauk monster event, you do get some pretty convincing takes from scientists about what it is. They'll point to the paws and say, okay, well, you look at the shape of the paws. It has these kind of extended finger-like digits on its paws, and then when you put it up, when you put an image of the creature up against the proportions of a raccoon, well, looks like it's a raccoon because the proportions, and raccoons have these long, dexterous toes on their hands. And there was this one interesting blog post from a scientist that studies decomposition and how he did some work on beaches, and he was describing how when you have a dead animal that is in the water for a while, what happens is that the fur falls off. So you get and animals, when their fur falls off, they look quite weird. Like, it doesn't look like the same animal without hair. Like a coyote without hair doesn't look like a coyote. And a raccoon without its hair doesn't look like a raccoon. It looks like something not of this world. He was just explaining how the way that it decomposed and how some areas decomposed quicker than others, that makes it look like some creature that doesn't exist when actually it's just a raccoon. And but for a little while it was kind of fun to believe that there was that this was evidence of something something hidden going on.
Yeah, but what I find weird is that Plum Island said, I remember reading about this. Plum Island said that thing couldn't have come from their end because they didn't have any missing animals or anything like that. Their security's pretty much on lockdown. So they're like, that couldn't be a thing. And then July of 2020, this happens in July of 2008, the first time. Then again in July of 2008, the same exact goddamn thing washes up on shore.
Yes.
In the same spot or same area with the same problem. So I'm like, wait a minute. Once is fine. 2 times? A hairless looking raccoon? Like, what the hell is up with that?
Once is an anomaly, twice is a pattern.
Yeah. So this is where I put on the Del Gribble hat, right? I don't mean to put on the Del Gribble hat, but it just comes on. Can't help it. Can't be helped.
Well, but we talked about this a little bit offline. The second one looks a lot more like just some sort of decomposed carnivore. Yeah. Like whether it's a raccoon or I think the second one kind of looks like a badger. There's no badgers on Long Island, so I don't know where that would.
The second one to me actually looks more like a raccoon than the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
The second one looks like, you see, like, I looked at a raccoon skeleton, then I looked at the specimen. I'm like, that looks more like a raccoon. But the first one, no, that's definitely a little funky because of the way that the snout kind of like has a thing going through it. This is weird. but it's also consistent with a raccoon, right? Like a dried out, hairless raccoon.
Yes.
But it's
Yes, yeah, I
weird.
think what it is the snout has decomposed off, and when you look at that part of the skull, I guess like when the flesh is missing, it looks like a hook. It looks like a beak. Yeah, I'm not an anatomist, so I don't know how to explain this entirely clearly. But my impression is like, yeah, when you have just the flesh on the snout missing, it can look like a beak. But it's still fun. It's still fun to think about and just like look how the decomposition played out on this animal that made it look like some sort of science experiment. I will note, however, we do actually have one animal at least that looks like a science experiment gone wrong. It's from Australia. Where else? It's called the platypus,
yep.
as featured on Phineas and Ferb. Is that Phineas and Ferb, or is that what cartoon is that with Perry?
Phineas and Ferb.
Is it Phineas and Ferb? Okay, yeah. 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 So there's precedent for such things happening in nature, maybe not in labs.
Yeah, no, it's crazy when you sit there and look at it. But I've looked at all this stuff, and I told myself that I was looking at this. I'm like, do not fall into this is what they're hiding the truth. Like, hey, look, the world is full of a lot of crazy stuff. There's nothing we can really do against all the crazy stuff that's out there, but it's out there. So since it's out there, the best thing I can tell you is do the following. The world sucks, but you're not going to get any better by trying to hide in the land of fiction following people like Al Bielek around or following people like this guy around. The best thing to do is make the world a better place in the ways you can. You know what? Call your friend up you miss. Maybe go to those community gatherings out there. If you hate your community, then you know what? Save some money and move away. I know it sounds easier said than done, but it's better than thinking that you were God. It's better than thinking you were some kind of side effect of a psyop to make yourself feel like a bigger person. If that makes any sense. If you like science fiction, man, go play Warhammer. I like Warhammer. It's not bad. Much more useful than playing this shit than reading into this stuff. But ultimately, there is one thing, though, I will say I do kind of like tip the conspiracy theory hat. It's the animal stuff that does kind of like make me look a little bit. But I don't believe Preston, Nichols, or Bialek. I just kind of sit there and go, it's not uncommon for military operations or places or offshoots or anything like that or medicals to go ahead and do stuff and not tell people a damn thing of what they're up to.
Yes. So one thought that I did have is that maybe there was. I mean, it's a military base, so like you would assume that there are some classified things going on, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there was something going on that was kind of sensitive, in terms of like, do we want our enemies or even our allies to know what's going on here? Maybe there was something like that happening, but mind control, time travel, abducting young kids to put them in the Montauk chair to try to see how their brains will react to being bombarded with radio waves, and using experiments on manipulating the mind to see if you can manipulate time. This is sort of roughly the impression that I've gotten of the philosophy of these experiments. I don't think anything like that was going on. I think it was probably, something else that was of sensitive nature, where again, we don't want our enemies, our allies, to know, but nothing semi-supernatural or super like fantastical science fictiony. Because if I'm remembering this right, the weather balloon story for Roswell, that was a false story. Like that was something that the government came up with to cover something up. So in a sense, yes, there was a Roswell cover up, but they weren't covering up the recovery of an alien spacecraft. What they were covering up was what crashed was not a weather balloon, but a test of some sort of acoustic detector that they were testing to eventually fly over Russian airspace to try to detect the sounds of nuclear tests going on. So this was this was us testing out some technology that maybe we could fly over Russia to see where they were keeping their nukes or where they were developing their nukes. And we didn't want the Russians to know that that was something that we were working on. So we created the weather balloon story, and people interpreted that as a cover up of the alien spacecraft, and thus you have the Roswell story. So yes, cover up, but not of what you think. So maybe maybe something like that happened.
Yes, and I am going to get ahead of a few people out there. Might see this and they'll go like, "Hey, but what about all this stuff?" MK Ultra was a thing, but not every project is MK Ultra. I have to repeat myself one more time on that. MK Ultra was a thing, but not every project is MK Ultra. Like the experiments on LSD. The Gonorrhea Project, I can't remember the name of that project right off the top of my head, was a thing, but that doesn't mean it's happening all the time. It just happens.
Yeah.
Now, in this situation with Camp Hero, it is the perfect place for some weird things to go down because it's very isolated. You know what I mean? Like, it is like your perfect sort of Area 51 for the East Coast. But that's my opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You would think that if there was something nefarious going on, it would be declassified by now, because Roswell happened in 1947, and this base was built before then. But I guess the experiments, the supposed experiments, didn't start until later. That didn't start until like the 70s, I don't think. But I don't know.
Oh wow. Sorry, 1 second here. What happened? We were suspended over on TikTok. I wonder why.
Oh dang!
Oh well.
Did we say something naughty?
I don't know. I just see that it was suspended from streaming over on Streamlabs for some reason. Oh well.
Wait, so we were suspended on two different ones? Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, we must have done something wrong then.
Oh well, we're still up on YouTube because I saw just a viewer responded about the platypus growing bright green under a UV light. Yeah, I've heard about that. It's because of something that the skin something that it sweats out does that. It's very unique to the platypus.
They're weird in every possible sense. So they're mammals and they lactate, but they don't have nipples. So the milk just kind of seeps out, from what I understand.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's quite wild. They're a very primitive mammal. They have because mammals our closest non-mammal relatives are reptiles. So mammals and reptiles are pretty closely related, and so the platypus represents kind of a form of mammal that is probably pretty similar to what early mammals must have looked like soon after we split from reptiles, because you look at their legs, because like dogs and cats, their legs are like this, like their legs stick out pretty much right below them, but with platypuses, their legs are kind of splayed out like this, and they walk like a lizard or like an alligator. um so, and they lay eggs. That's another one. They literally lay eggs like a reptile. So there's a lot of ways in which they're probably pretty similar to what mammals must have looked like a long time ago. But of course, they've evolved too. They've changed. So there's ways in which they must not be like those early mammals too. So
interesting. Yes. So the Philadelphia experiment and the notorious Project Montauk, where Stranger Things was birthed out of. Do I think any of this stuff happened? No. Do I think that there are weird things out there that we can't explain? Definitely. But do I think they happened with Al Bielek and Preston Nichols? Most likely not. It might sound anticlimactic when I put it this way, but my best guess is nothing happened nothing happened at Camp Hero. It was most likely it's most likely two guys with a crazy woven tail, and most likely they are, and I put this, most likely they are making a lot of money, or they were making money off of the tales of telling people about this. It's just interesting when you hear about this stuff and then you see stuff, right? Like, it's fascinating. Like, this story, people believe it, and it was the inspiration behind one of the bigger shows I think Netflix has ever had, and it's now a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, Jack, but I want to believe.
I want to believe.
I believe. I believe. I believe.
I'm Spartacus. I mean, yeah. I believe.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
A minute. I can go ahead and.
No. We're pretty much in agreement on this. Very interesting stuff. Glad it gave us Stranger Things, but no, just.
It's fun to know that this stuff
regular old abandoned army base, and we're totally not being paid by anybody.
Yep. Oh man. But yeah. So, any further opinions on Camp Hero and the Preston Nichols and Al Bielek?
Go to Montauk. It's pretty.
Yes.
Go on a seal walk. I didn't see any seals, but maybe you will.
You might find a dead hairless raccoon. That's my hope for you.
What's that?
You might find a dead hairless raccoon and, make headlines that way.
Yeah. Now, that person says that she still gets emails about it, the person that took the photo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And I will say this. Despite that it's over, I am glad that we did get to see Stranger Things. I know a lot of people aren't happy with the finale, but I am. I believe the finale was a good one. But I think on this note, I'll sign us out for the robot, because when you heard that whole story, his brain fried. So, I'll sign us out on this one.
It was the radio waves. It was the mind control radio waves that got to him.
You know what? We sound like that.
Bolt's trapped in the wormhole. We gotta get him.
Oh yeah, that's what happened to him. I posted a video up of that fucking wormhole, and the monster in there got him. So he's in there, and his brain fried when he heard what he had to do to get out. So I believe he sat somewhere with 3 waterfalls, though. Even though I saw that happen. Do you believe?
I believe.
I believe. And on that note, folks, I am Pumpkin Jack. This is our first episode of the Ghastly Hallows for 2026. Hopefully we find more weird and interesting stuff to dissect as we follow ourselves into this new chapter of our lives this year in our Cyberlord 2026.
See you later, you weirdos.
Yes, ma'am.